Well, good morning. Hey, Jim Sunderwirth from my swing here, and it's good to be with you again today. We're talking about, of course, we're talking about the journey of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and now we're talking about Jacob's son Joseph, who now he is the head of everything in Egypt. I mean, he's just right underneath uh, the king right there, and now he's brought his brothers back. Yesterday we talked about the fact that for the first time he sees Benjamin. Now Benjamin is his actual real brother. I mean, Rachel was Joseph's mother, and Rachel was the mother of Benjamin. And of course, Jacob, this was the wife that he loved so much, Rachel. So anyway, now they bring this young brother of theirs. Now he's at this time he's about 27 years old, because he was 7 years old, they say, when Joseph left, and he's been gone now 20 some years. So he's around 27 years old. So he's getting to be a man. But all of a sudden, well, let's just read it. He says, and he lifted up his eyes. Now this is in Genesis. This is the 43rd chapter. If you want to read along, if you have your Bible, it's in the 29th verse. It says, then he lifted up, and that's Joseph lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, this is your younger brother, of whom you spoke to me. And he said, God be gracious to you, my son. Now you have to understand that he's not speaking in Hebrew. He is speaking through an interpreter, because they still don't know that Joseph is their brother. But then what happens? Now his heart yearned for his brother, and Joseph made haste, and all of a sudden he just left the place. He just left because he had to find a place to weep. Now Joseph, I mean, you got to realize Joseph's kind of an emotional guy here. I mean, yes, he's the head of everything. He's a tough guy in a sense, but he's very, very emotional, because he knows the brothers, they don't know him, and he's remembering things, and all the years that he has missed with his father, all the years that he's missed with his brothers, and now he sees Benjamin, and all this emotion just flares up within his side. Have you ever been around in a situation where all of a sudden memories come flooding in, and you just become emotional? That's okay. That's all right. It's healthy to weep, and it's healthy to give your expression. Well, anyway, so he found a place to weep, and he cried, and and he just said, oh God, this is almost too much. But then what he said is that he wept, and then he went into his chambers, and that's where he wept, and then he washed his face. Well, you know, again, he had to wash his face because Egyptians wore mascara. And you can imagine all that crying. I mean, I know my wife, once in a while, she's so beautiful, but she gets all teary, maybe at church for emotional, or maybe she looks at me and she says, what have I got myself into? And starts to cry. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so she begins to weep. Well, her mascara dry, and that's what happened here. And so he had to wash his face. Now, 7 times in this, I think I shared it with you, but he weeps 7 times during this whole episode. So anyway, so he finds himself, he goes into his chambers, and he washes his face, and he comes out again, and he says, serve the bread. You see what's happened now. I want to remind you that he has called all of his brothers into his own home, and they're getting ready to eat. And he had, for the first time, saw Benjamin. He wept, and he came back out, and he said, well, let's eat now. And here's what happens. Now, you're going to see some prejudice here for sure, because he said he washed his face. So they set him a place by himself. Now the Egyptians had disdain for shepherds. Shepherds were common people. Egyptians were the high-tech people of their age. I mean, can you imagine? They were high-tech, and they just set themselves above everyone. I mean, they built pyramids. They did so many phenomenal things. We're still studying how phenomenal they were. They could embalm someone. They could take the brain out of a body right through the nose somehow, and not even mess the face up or mess any part of the body up. They were brilliant people, and they didn't have anything to do with shepherds, because they were common folk. Nothing to do with the shepherds. So Joseph, well, he's Hebrew. Well, he sat by himself, and then they sat by themselves. They would not have anything to do with the shepherds. And then the shepherds had to sit by themselves. But here's what happened. It's crazy. Joseph set his brothers in order of their age. Can you believe that? They set him right around in order, and themselves, and they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, the youngest according to youth, all the way around. And can you? How did this guy know how to set? I know. When we have special dinners, I tell you, my wife loves to put people in their place, just right around the table, just in honor. She honors them, you know. Well, he honored them and put them all around, and they had something to eat, and they rejoiced together. Wow, 5 minutes goes by fast. Stick with me tomorrow. We'll continue our story.